Community machinery behind the scenes, the unvarnished truth. We've been undisciplined with our work in progress cart and keeping the work in progress on the cart. I think the next step is having a shelf dedicated to outside work and what is inside work, so that when we're on billable hours, or maybe it's weekend time, or maybe it's just one of those days where we're feeling vulnerable and we can pick projects more intentionally based on what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what helps get momentum. So yeah, we've got bird fountain stuff, brackets from earlier today, parts for the TIG welder, inverter welder cart, and it's all over the place. One of the projects we were working on in the past couple weeks, mostly a weekend thing, the socket organizer trays made out of some light gauge galvanized. It's one piece, and it was really fun to shear the material with the shear and use the press brake for some forming and find a way to flatten that out where it's tough to get the die in and get it all formed together. So interesting little project, keeps stuff like that, keeps us on our toes. And also this mag drill was on the bench for a while because we were starting to put it back together. Made this cover on the weekend here, and it's going to allow a 5-conductor wire to feed the motor, because it's not just going to power the motor, it's also going to hook up to a magnetic switch in the base, which is going to prevent the motor from starting if the power goes out. Because you always want to make sure your magnet's engaged first. So instead of just talking about safety, being about it, modeling positive behavior. And what else do we have going on here? Move some things around a little bit. Forklift, forward switch, has some kind of an intermittent, well, sometimes you shift into forward, it doesn't go, and it's electronic. So into reverse, it goes every time. Forward, it wasn't going. Pull the switch, check the switch, everything seemed to check out fine. And finally, well, I actually took the solenoids, mapped that out when it was working to see what lead gets power, because the manual was just not clear on some of this stuff. So it made sense doing that step. When last time we had the forklift blocked up, we ran it, the wheels were spinning, every time it was going in forward. And then started driving it. It wasn't going to forward. And then this realization, oh, it's every time I step on the inching pedal and I've got my foot on the inching pedal, it won't go into forward. That's what it is. And then over time, it didn't seem like that so much, but there is a switch on the inching pedal, and looking in the manual, I was not able to find anything about this switch. So it turns out the switch is open. Put these jumpers on the leads coming from the switch to close that circuit up to see if that makes a difference in the operation of the solenoids. So it was the classic whodunit, and oh, caught you red-handed, but it doesn't seem that cut and dried. Still does not seem resolved. So anyhow, I feel like that switch is a valuable find. I feel like that switch definitely is going to help with doing something when we get that sorted out. And just got to keep doing some testing, get this forklift blocked up again. Maybe once this van is out of here, so we can work around the forklift a little bit easier. And the van is back because we're driving, came back, it was a warm day. Why not work on putting the roof rack on the van, buttoning that up, stopped on that project, taking a step back. It wasn't going the way I had initially envisioned. And at this point, I think the vision is getting it done. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly. That said, doing it poorly is still way better than when I started on this journey, and it's still going to be safe. It's still going to look really good. It's going to look better than pretty much anything else on this van. And this van is not forever. So we're going to learn what we can. And it's going to be a lot less wind noise and I think a nicer design overall than an earlier roof rack idea we come up with. So that's a win. And other thing, got this planer here. Really, it doesn't need to be in the shop, but it's the best place for it because it's dry, it's warm, it's out of the weather. So put it on a forklift tote to raise it up and save real estate. There wasn't much on this tote. And one of the other thoughts was, oh, if we had some leg extensions for this tote, then we could add more totes above. There were 4 of these totes stacked in the shop before, and long material was on the very top one, which is cool in some ways as far as saving space. It wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing thing to have in the space, but it's always what's the word for it? I guess we go back to if it's worth doing poorly. Knowing what we don't want, we find what we do want, but even just trying things along the way brings a lot of wisdom, brings a lot of courage to not have to do everything perfect. Oh, other thing, we took one of the platens, one of the tables, whatever it's called, off of this belt sander and edge sander, I think is the term woodworkers use. Anyhow, flipped it upside down on this side, so that's taking less real estate. That's out of commission for the time being, and it's really a few easy bolts to take in and out, so not a big deal. Helps us solve some of the day-to-day challenges, just throughput, moving things around. And if you're having challenges like that, please comment below and try and share some of our thoughts on what challenges you're finding in your life. Because undoubtedly, if you're watching this video, you're probably into ideas like we're into ideas and improvements, the same as we are into improvements. So put your thoughts below in terms of what you're working on, what we might be able to show in the shop that might be helpful. Yes, until next time, please comment. And if you want to like or subscribe, that'd be great too. But hopefully we just get the ball rolling, having some conversations, and being helpful. Thanks until next time.